That was
But
phenomenal.
we're having some cracking races here today, and as Tom has said, if you've got a free afternoon, free morning, come down and join us and watch it live. Weather conditions beautiful here. But back to the junior fours. Putney High School A just leading the Scottish Composite, and if you look at the names, we've got Glasgow Academy, George Heriot School, Glasgow Schools, and Inverness. So a really interesting composite covering most of Scotland geographically, and they're doing very well there. But it's the Putney High School just with the advantage as they go past us, about 2/3 of a length.
When Putney High School jumped out there, they were pretty even off the start, these two crews, and then all of a sudden I think Putney High School just decided to make a move, and they're up by a length as they come past the barrier, or just about a length. I'd probably call that 3/4 to be generous.
Yeah, it is a very well-schooled Putney crew there, the Putney A, and they've just made a move there, and I think they've just got a clear water advantage over the Scottish Composite on the side nearest the enclosures.
Now, we don't like to be partisan in commentary, but Carol, I'm thinking that will there be any cheering for this Scottish Composite as they come down into the second half?
Well, interestingly enough, Tom, as I was looking through the crew lists as before I left to come down here, I thought we have a really big Scottish entry this year. So I'm sure, as Scots away from Scotland always support the other clubs, even though they're intense rivals at home. But Scots always support the Scots. But that is a really nice Putney High School four there, just racing through, and just they've got a lead now, and I think they're maintaining that lead over the Scottish Composite.
Well, you always wonder, don't you, with Putney High School having probably rode together for the majority of the year, this composite, I assume, has come together in reasonably recent times. How much experience will they have, and how much ability will they have to deal with what's going on in this race?
Interestingly enough, Tom, I had a chat with the Scottish performance director yesterday, and we were talking about this four indeed, and he said that each of these girls in their own club don't really have anybody else to race with in a four, so the thought was to put them all together to give them some high-level experience, so that as they progress on out of junior into student rowing or whatever, they've had experience at the top end. So that is what they've done, and I think probably their first race together was in the time trials.
Wow, okay, fair enough. So not a lot of experience, but four experienced girls in their own right, just not that used to rowing with each other, but enjoying their row down the Henley course, I'm sure. And as you say, valuable experience to build on in their career trajectory. But Putney looking like the class crew in this quarter-final, the junior fours, just taking the rate down maybe a couple of pips, just to sort of establish themselves as the commanding force as they come down towards the line.
Yes, they know they've got this race under control now, and they're just foot off the gas for a little bit just to conserve some energy, because they're going to have to race, if they progress to the final, another 2 times today. But stalwart performance from the Scottish Composite there. They're going really well, very nicely indeed, despite, as Thomas said, not particularly being in a boat together very often. But lovely performance from Putney High. Just dropping the rating slightly, saving enough so that they can cross that finish line first.
Although it may not have worked out in that one, Carol, we've got more Scottish representation in the next race, race 310, the Aberdeen Schools Rowing Association on the Berkshire Station, and Lower Merion High School A on the Buckinghamshire Station. So it's Scotland versus the US of A, and you can just see Aberdeen there in their distinctive black kit leaving the state boats. Pretty good start from both crews, I'd say.
Yes, I'm trying not to be too partial here, wearing the Aberdeen hat, and I'd better be very complimentary to both crews. Yes, as Thomas said, basically the Aberdeen crew are mainly junior 16. There's one junior 16 stroking it, the rest are about junior 17, so a youngish crew. I don't know anything about the American crew whatsoever, but they are coming down the island really nicely. It's just hard to get a differential as to what they're doing there. It's always interesting when you have a crew racing against the Americans, because you just don't have any history for the American crews. So you're sort of rowing in isolation. And I know the coaches will have been trying to do an internet troll to find out what's happening.
Well, I can tell you a little bit about them. They're actually the oldest public high school rowing team in the USA, established in 1945. And this spring, this crew actually won the Scholastic Rowing Association of America National Championship. They also won the Philadelphia City Championship and brought home silver at the Stotesbury Cup Regatta in the varsity Coxed 4 category. So a well-established crew with plenty of domestic silverware, and I assume they've turned their attentions to Henley Women's as they see that as the pinnacle of female rowing, possibly in the world.
Oh, absolutely. I've been speaking to some of the American parents, and they are just delighted with this whole regatta. Think it's wonderful and would love to come back. But it's as Tom's giving you the history of the American crew, you see that there's some class in that boat, and they are some 2/3 of a length in front of the Aberdeen 4 there. I think the American crew just looks slightly longer, just a bit more relaxed in it. Just managing to stay in front there.
Aberdeen are going to need something pretty special in the second half of this race to get back on terms with the crew from the USA, just passing the barrier. They have around a length. So a mightily impressive performance from those girls so far. But then if you come all the way over the pond from the USA, you expect to back yourself, don't you?
Well, making that time and effort to come over here, you would expect to have some hope of making it through to the final. And nice 4 there. They still haven't snapped the elastic, Tom, though they're not clear water adrift from Aberdeen yet. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. I think this is a good American crew, and I think they'll maintain that separation as they proceed further down the course.
Without wanting to speculate, I've seen American crews go out very hard at Henley and blow up in the middle of the course. I don't know if it's going to happen to this crew. They do look pretty relaxed as they come down. Quite a long, lengthy style, catching the water out front and making sure they're sending it through the middle of the stroke. But Aberdeen are going to need something pretty impressive to get back on terms.
Indeed, and I don't know if they have got that in the tank to come back in that crew. Crew now have clear water as they go through the enclosures area. The American crew leading Aberdeen by about a length and a half, and I think it looks to me as though they're now pulling away. I think they made a move. Maybe there was a call made at the start of the enclosure just to say, put a bit more power down, girls, let's pull away and just relax at the end of the race, because we may have to do this a couple of times more today. So it's Lower Merion High School of America leading Aberdeen schools as they head down towards the finish.
So just watching Lower Merion make their way down the course, leading Aberdeen by about a length and a half. I think it would take a brave man to bet against them progressing through to the semi-finals of the Junior Cox 4. So we'll move back to the start for race 3-1-1. Headington School on the Berkshire Station and Latimer Upper School on the Buckinghamshire Station. I'm delighted to welcome Izzy Copeland back to the commentary booth. Izzy, do you know anything about either of these two crews? Obviously two well-established names on the junior circuit.
Yes, we saw them racing at Nats, I believe. Some of the members, they're both extremely strong crews, competing just a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see just how much they've improved in just the really short space of time actually it is between these two huge events. These two crews are definitely right up there in the top competing crews and have definitely raced against each other a lot before, so they're well known to each other actually.
Yeah, so Latimer were fourth placed finishers at championship girl level in the Coxed 4 at the National Schools Regatta, and these 4 athletes from Headington make up half of the silver medal winning 8 in the championship girls 8 category at the National Schools Regatta. So 2 sets of crews who know each other well and will know what it takes to win at the highest level. Of course, we've already seen Headington and Latimer crews respectively progress through to the semi-finals of the junior quads already this morning, and I'm not quite sure at this stage who I would put my money on to progress through. It looks like Headington have had the better of the 2 starts.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Headington's doing better than Latimer actually, because they've been quite quiet across the whole of the boat club this year. Headington, they've not been competing as highly as potentially they have in other years, but it does seem that they have just a bit more space ahead of the Latimer crew.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. Headington have struggled a little bit this year to really capture the momentum that saw them win 9 championship girls, 8 titles in a row at the National Schools Regatta. They've had that victory pulled away from them by Henley this year, but you can just see Headington really sending away the puddles off the hull of their boat, making sure that they have control of this race and trying to stamp on the throat of the Latimer crew so that they can ensure that they progress through, passing the barrier. They've got nearly a length, but that elastic, that intangible connection between the two crews yet to be broken, which gives Latimer hope for the second half.
Yeah, as they went past us there, they certainly looked like a very strong crew from Headington. But Latimer do seem to be pulling back from that overhead shot there. They're definitely not out of the game just yet. I think this could be quite an interesting race, and I think there is potential for Latimer to just up their rate in the second half and just push past Headington.
Yeah, certainly a convincing performance from Headington so far in our third, that's a total lie, our third quarter-final of the Junior Coxed Fours. Just see those two crews. Blue kit, white blades for Headington, white kit, blue blades for Latimer. But it looks to me, for all their huffing and puffing, Headington haven't quite managed to break clear of Latimer, which, as I say, if the Cox can still reach out and touch the Headington crew, she knows that she's still within a chance, with a chance of getting back on terms.
Yeah, no, Latimer certainly aren't giving up on this race. They keep just pushing it back ever so slightly on each stroke, and they're just not letting Headington get away at all, which would make it a really hard race for Headington actually, because you just can't start to relax and settle at all. You have to keep pushing down on every stroke, which is quite difficult because it's a long way, and if they're going to get through to the finals, then they want to be relaxing as much as they possibly can.
Well, absolutely, and it's worth noting that this is one of 3 possible races that these guys will have to undergo today, this being the quarter-final stage. So Headington, barring anything too disastrous in the final few strokes, I think they have just about seen off the advances of Latimer, and it would take something pretty special for Latimer to get back on terms now. Headington moving down the course in race 311, about a length clear of Latimer. Just run through some results as we watch those two crews make their way down. So race 306 was a win for Maidenhead Rowing Club in the junior doubles by a length and a half over St George's. Race 307, that languid crew from the city of Oxford beating Gloucester Hartbury by a length and a half. And in race 308, York City coming back through Sir William Borlase after a ding-dong battle all the way down the 1500 metre course to win by a canvas. Race 309 in the junior Coxed Fours was a win for Putney High School over the Scottish Composite by a length and a quarter. And race 310 Lower Merion High School of the USA won by 3 lengths over Aberdeen Schools Rowing Association. And here we can see Headington making a good fist of this race. Yeah,
they've certainly pushed hard all the way from this race. The Cox are looking quite happy there as they're coming up to the finishing point. They've definitely got that in the bag now. They know they've made that through to the semi-finals. Latimer is still coming up, still putting in the competition, but Headington know that they've got that.
Yeah, they've got that one sewn up, and barring any intervention from the umpire, that will go down as a win for Headington School. So we move on to race 312, our last quarter-final of the Junior Coxed Fours, and it's Henley Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station, just there appearing in your shot, and Marlow Rowing Club A. We do seem to be saying the same names over and over again this morning, the likes of Marlow, Headington, Latimer, and Henley all appearing with increasing frequency at the sharp end of junior rowing. And there we go, we can see actually, from my perspective, I don't know if I'm going mad here, is there just one crew on the course?
There is just one crew on the course.
Must be a row over because Marlow haven't showed up. So we're now going to have 4 minutes of airtime to fill on how wonderful this Henley crew are.
I know Henley have had a fantastic season this year, actually. They have won in all of their categories across the board of the club for the girls. They've been a hugely strong group. This has been really impressive. every competition they've been gone to this year, they've definitely been the ones to beat, and have produced some absolutely fantastic results.
I did wonder coming out the start, they didn't look like they were racing particularly hard. I mean, they were down at about rate 27, 28. And I thought, even for Henley, their confidence, that's incredibly low. But that probably explains it, just paddling down the course and enjoying that. And that could well stand them in good stead for their semi-final, because it means that they're not burning energy that they could have had in a match race. So I'm sure their competitors will be a little bit frustrated that they've had an easy ride of it to progress through to the semi-finals, of course. As you say, Izzy, Henley having a stellar season this year, picking up golds pretty much everywhere they've gone. This crew actually were bronze medalists at the National Schools Regatta behind Lady Eleanor Hollis and Glasgow, which was a result that many probably would have been proud of, but I'd expect that this lineup were unsatisfied with Mary Wright a standout in this crew. Junior World's vest to her name. So they'll certainly be looking for a positive result here in the junior women's fours. This is almost like a training row for them, I can imagine.
No, they definitely look very relaxed, not really putting too much power down at all. But I think for anybody, that's the way you'd want your quarterfinals to go.
Absolutely.
It's not too bad having to not put too much effort in and get through to the next stage. I think most crews today would be quite happy to have that as their situation.
Yeah, they can just enjoy a lovely Sunday morning paddle on their home stretch. No drama for Henley Rowing Club at all as they make their way past the barrier. Just a reminder of what's coming up. So this was the final quarter-final of the junior coxed fours, and we have championship lightweight single sculls coming up shortly after this, followed by lightweight pairs at championship level, junior 16 coxed fours, and we move into semi-final territory with academic or aspirational lightweight singles, junior 16 quads and championship pairs all to come before 11 o'clock. So a full programme of racing, and a very exciting one at that, at the Sunday of the Henley Women's Regatta.